Hello, and welcome. This is the next episode in Give It Another Year, my podcast diary. I am Jenny Q. I am an artist, an author, a support worker, a sister, a daughter, a Canadian, and now a podcaster, I suppose. This is my space where I get to sort of explore, share different things, different ideas, and with the purpose to provide a pocket of positive space, even around a topic like fear, which is today's episode, which I call Fear is Your Guide. So actually, if you go back and listen to the last couple of episodes, I've actually been touching on undercurrents of fear and where things get fed to us from. Sucked into scrolling was 2 weeks ago, and last week was unexpected. And what was unexpected was 10 days ago there was an incident at my job, and one of the people I support got hurt. And it has affected me very, very deeply. And so I have been thinking a lot about fear the last 10 days or so. And so that's what I want to talk about. And that's what I'm going to talk about because it's my diary and I can do what I want. I do hope you stick around though. So I'm going to fade out the music here, and I'm going to share with you my observation and hypothesis that people suggest that fear is bad. Fear is something to get rid of, to get over, to avoid. Don't be afraid, be brave, all of those stances. And I think that's wrong. Actually, I know it's wrong. It's wrong. Don't do that. Don't do that. I care. Please don't do that. Fear, my hypothesis is, fear is your guide. And that's this episode's title. And I'm not saying that it's an easy thing, but I think it's a fact. I have been reading and studying and going through different personal development programs for many, many years. And fear is often one of the focus things, defining fear. What is fear? What does fear do? And we could go on for an hour just defining fear. But in a nutshell, this is how I would describe fear. Fear is that thing that catches your attention. It is part of every human on the planet. There is no one on this planet who has not experienced fear. And when you look into it and you think about it, fear is a mechanism in your brain, in your heart, in your mind that is there to keep you safe. That's it. Fear is that thing that makes you pause, that makes you highly aware. Fear is that thing that alerts you to a danger, perceived danger, whether it's real, like a car coming towards you, or being attacked by an animal, or if it's an imagined fear of what could happen. And so it puts you in a place of anxiety, and that anxiety sometimes causes you to freeze. And then when you freeze, other things unfold, and you're like, it's because I'm afraid. And let's think about that. When you say you're afraid, and I'm in this place right now with some things I'm coping with, when you say you're afraid, sometimes you cry, sometimes you hide under a blanket. When you say you're afraid, sometimes you dive into food or promiscuity or video games. I'm scared. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to, I don't want to face this. I don't want to do this. And that's a very natural response. I think a lot of people are like that. But I think, before I dig deeper into my hypothesis and my ideas, I just want to share a couple of things. If you've never read Napoleon Hill, he's written many books on fear. Well, not fear specifically, but on how to deal with anxiety and deal with those things that impede success or happiness or anything kind of like that. And he basically in his book Think and Grow Rich, he talks about and covers the 6 basic fears that all humans can have, right? You can have a fear of poverty, a fear of criticism, a fear of ill health, a fear of a loss of love, and that doesn't mean romantic, it could be family, right? And the fear of old age and the fear of death. And these are all very real fears. It's not that they're not real. But when I talk about what I think fear really is as a guide, you'll see that it's not the fear that is bad. Fear is natural. It's your guide, as I keep saying. It is that response to perceived threats, which I already sort of talked about. It's to protect you, and it's to alert you. But the consequences of things that you fear, that you call fear, are either the actions or the inactions you take, or the lack of action, which is what I'm suggesting. So, you don't want to remove fear, because it's what brings your attention to things. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm being very redundant. I probably am. But the fear is the thing you need to remove is not the fear, but the wrong thoughts you're having, or the indecision you're experiencing, or the doubts that are flooding your mind. Those are the dangerous things: the indecision, the doubts, and the wrong thoughts, or the thoughts that you don't know are real but you're filling in. Anyway, I don't want to go down all that stuff, because like I said, I could go on for hours about this stuff. What I do want to talk about, though, is, and it's connected back to where I talked about, sucked into scrolling. A lot of people nowadays will go to Google, and they'll ask Google, or they'll ask AI, or they'll do those things, and they will look there and they will say, Google, and I did this for this podcast, Google, what's a good acronym for fear? And a couple popped up, and there's 2 that kept popping up. And the more I saw them, the more I'm like, no, I can't let people believe these things, because they make it seem like fear is very simple. And it is. In one way, fear is simple. It's making you alert. That's all that fear is. The complicated part is how you respond to fear. And so people blame fear, but what you should be doing is blaming yourself for the things that are putting you through hell. It's not fear. It's you avoiding fear. It's you not listening to that guide. And like a guide, like if you want a tour, your guide knows the terrain. Your guide knows where things are. Your guide knows where to avoid and where to go, even though the terrain might be difficult. They'll tell you this is the best way. This is where you need to go. But your guide is not your boss. Your guide is just someone or something there to say, here it is. Now it's up to you. And fear's no different. When you have that fear of poverty, or that fear of rejection, or that fear of loss of love, or whatever, fear is telling you, you need to face this. You need to talk to this person. You need to go to a counselor. You need to seek help. You need to support whatever it is. But people don't want to do that because it's hard. It's difficult. And it's not as easy as going to Google and saying, Google, what is fear? So you don't want to get rid of fear. I think that's wrong. So when I looked it up, or when I asked Google, this is what Google brought up. There were 2 main ones. And the first acronym for fear was F was forget. E was everything. A was and R, run. So the suggestion for the one way to deal with fear is to forget everything and run. Don't do that. If you forget everything and run, you're going to end up in rabbit holes. You're going to go down tunnels and dark paths and patches where it's going to be more scary than what you think the fear is. You are going to go down places that make your heart race even more, or put you in a position where you have to make decisions that are unimaginable. And so don't do that. I don't like that acronym of fear, so we're going to not do that. The second acronym that kept popping up was F for face, E, everything, A, and R, rise. So face everything and rise. Now on the surface that sounds wonderful, doesn't it? It sounds wonderful. Just rise, rise. The trouble is nothing is a true linear bottom to top. Any growth, any journey is going to have ups and downs. So the perception of this is that you can just rise above fear, face everything. But you can never rise above fear because fear is your internal system that's trying to keep you safe. And if you rise above everything, it's kind of like put it behind you. And the things that fear guides you through to or to try and attempt, they're the things that make you grow and expand and learn about yourself as an individual. And I don't think you want to miss that. Now, please, when I'm telling you all these things, I'm not suggesting that life is easy and beds of roses and all that. There are lots of people who experience horrible, horrific, awful things. You know, traumas that a lot of people never experience. And I'm not saying that fear is not real. Fear is real. And their fear is heightened and constant and intense because of what they've gone through. And their fear has them on edge because they need to be safe, but they've had so much trauma or abuse or been in a war or whatever it is. It is beyond anything. But even though it's beyond anything, it's still just trying to keep them safe. It's just trying to keep them safe. They just need more supports and help, right? We all need help. Anyway, I'm digressing. But anyway, so please know that I'm not trying to make this simplistic, but both of those acronyms for fear, you know, forget everything and run or face everything and rise. I don't think either, I think they make it too simplistic. So I did my own acronym, and when I finish this up, I'm going to try and wrap up the episode. So my F, and it's not really an acronym because it doesn't go nicely the way the others do, but it's more like I'm looking at what the letters stand for in fear and use those as the mini guides in the guide of fear. So fear as your guide for F is showing you the flag or the feeling. It's that moment where in your mind you're going, I don't want to do this, or this is bad, or this is scary. And when your heart starts to race and your palms start to sweat and your throat starts to close, that's the flag or the feeling. That's fear telling you, pay attention, this is important. That's F. E. E can be three different things, not at the same time. Or maybe at the same time, I don't know. It is the emotion, the experience, or the expectation. And as I said last week, like, we all have struggles, and either you're in the process of a struggle, learning from a struggle, or you're teaching someone else about the lesson from the struggle, right? So you could either be having an emotional response to a struggle or a fear. So that could be jealousy, that could be anger, that could be shame, that could be guilt, that could be all sorts of things, okay? The experience of it itself. If someone's beating you or mistreating you, or your family is divorcing, or you're losing a house, or whatever it is, you're experiencing that E in fear. It's the experience of the thing. And then the expectations, right? Either expectations of, you know, thoughts that aren't accurate, right? Well, if this happens, that's going to happen. And then that heightens your fear, right? Well, if I lose my job, then I'm going to lose my boyfriend. If you're in fear, sometimes those jumps don't make sense, but they're there. So that's E. Emotions, experience, and expectations. A is either awareness, avoidance, or action. And this is where your guide of fear is amazing. It is either going to help you learn about yourself, depending how you dig into it. You're either going to learn about maybe some things you don't like about yourself, or you might learn that you're stronger than you know, or you might reframe an experience and be like, wow, it actually was a good thing that happened, not a bad thing. Avoidance. This is when you don't listen to your guide, and you can go down a path or a rabbit hole, and it's going to make your journey way longer than it needs to be, but it's still part of your journey. You're not going to stop going on a journey. And fear will follow you. Fear will be with you. And if you go further and deeper and darker, your fear is going to get bigger and louder because it's doing more and more trying to keep you safe. Okay? These are just my ideas. Okay? I'm not saying they're right or wrong. This is just my experience. And the last one is action. Sometimes fear is a very, natural fear. You're like, hey, I don't know if I want to dive off this diving board that's 20 feet high. But then you do it and you're like, cool, I did it. I did that, last year in February when we went away to Dominican, and I climbed a mountain and I slid down water slides through waterfalls. I was scared and there was fear, but I did it. And when I did it, I had accomplished something that was cool. So action isn't always, high mental work or whatever. Sometimes it's just an action of, I got to give a speech and I'm scared to go and talk in front of those people, but I go and do it anyway. But the action can also be, I need to see counseling. The action can also be, I've got to end my marriage. The action could be, I need to go to a support group. Your action is the A, which is awesome. So A is awareness, avoidance, or action. And R is easy. It's results. It is the results of the journey your guide is trying to take you on. Whether your results is you're at the bottom of the mountain because you weren't listening, or you're stuck in a valley because you took a wrong turn and you wouldn't listen to your guide, or whether it's you're trudging through a path but you can see a beautiful destination at the end of it because you are listening to your guide. So that's it. That's my little rant, reflection, contemplation on fear. And to be transparent, I have to go back to work tomorrow. I've been off work since the incident. And I am afraid. I have fear of returning to work, of how my coworkers are going to receive me. I have a fear that I could still be called into HR, that I could maybe lose my job. I have fear that I'm not going to be able to trust myself to do a good job anymore, and that I might have to quit or whatever. Now, these are all extreme fears, and they're probably not accurate. I'll let you know. But this is why I've been thinking about fear. It's been taking over my mind. And I've made some connections as to why I'm actually feeling this fear, and I'm not sharing this here because you're not my counselor. But I did study what I knew about fear over the last few days, and despite the fact that I do have moments where I wake up in anxiety and I'm in tears and my hands sweat and I can't think straight and my head spins and I'm experiencing all those very real physical things, I have moments like my podcast that allow me to sit down and find clarity and calm. And in between those battles where fear is pushing me to go so I can win those battles and I can face those things, in between is the calm. So I'm in my calm now to share this with you in case you have fear that you're facing. And so, as I like to do with every episode, I have a question for you. Then I'm going to wrap up. And that should be right about perfect, almost about 20 minutes. So I'm going to bring back my music just a little bit, not too loud. There we go. There it is. So, let's just recap a couple things. Remember that there's 6 fears, right? There are 6 fears. I can never remember them all off the top of my head. There's fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. We've all gone through some of these, if not all of them at some point. My hypothesis is that fear is your guide, not the thing to actually be afraid of. And that it is up to you and how you respond to the things fear is trying to show you. Whether it's jealousy, anger, trauma, whatever it is. Ultimately, and unfortunately, I guess, it comes down to you and how you respond. And if you listen to your guide and you follow those tough things that scare you, or if you avoid it, both paths will take you somewhere, and that's just how it goes. So just as a reminder with all those things. So, with that, okay, I'm gonna ask the question, then I'll share the bright side of it. Okay. So my question for everyone this week is, where is your fear? Where is your guide leading you? In other words, what are you afraid of right now? And where is it taking you? What path? What learning do you need to go through? And so the bright side of everything, I want to say, because I always like to leave on a positive note, and I'm leaving with this to myself today. Because I know fear is a guide, I know that I am in control, and the storms I'm going through, the things that are inciting my fear are real. They are something I do need to navigate, but I know that the fear has put them in front of me because they're important. They are a perceived or imagined threat, and the way I get rid of that threat depends on what it is. But the cool thing is I can do it. I can do it because fear has made me aware. If fear didn't make me aware, it could have taken me down without anything, and I wouldn't have known why. So don't be afraid of fear. Listen to what your fear is trying to tell you. Where is it taking you? And think about my acronym as opposed to the other two, right? Anyway, la la la. And I'm going to wrap this up, of course, as I do every week, with my philosophy. I need a name for this philosophy. But even when you're in the depths of your darkest fears, and you're not sure where to go or what to do, even when you feel that lost and foggy in your head, I want you to remember, just like I'm reminding myself right now, that you make a difference in 3 ways in this world. By sharing your smile, sharing your love, and sharing your laughter. It's hard when you're stuck in a fear expedition. Let's call it an expedition. But if you make the effort to do those things, the fear becomes less of a fear and more of a lesson and a learning. And if you can lead by example, that in the toughest of times you can still smile, laugh, and love, that is incredible. Alright, folks, I'm going to wrap this up. If you've listened this far, if you've listened to any of my episodes, or you've come back, I hope that you get something out of it. I hope it brings you a spin of positivity. I hope that you hear me saying to you that you matter, and that you have incredible gifts between your smile, your love, and your laughter. I do too. I will see you next Tuesday. I'll be back next Tuesday, because this podcast brings me joy, and I feel like it's doing something. Not sure what, but I think it's good that it's here. Have a great rest of your day, and a good week. Bye for now.